I choose for this exhibition the title The Holy Land. I was thinking about the provocation of the term the Holy Land. There is a religious motive behind it that justifies the presence of people being on a certain piece of land. When is a nation really allowed to live somewhere or can claim that it is their land? And it's also, of course, one of the great reasons for warfare. What we're looking at is also, it is a bit of a landscape where things are happening. It brings out curiosity and also associations with what's going on in the Middle East. It's a beautiful title, actually.
It's all been made especially for the Hepworth Wakefield and comes out of a collaboration with the Royal Armouries in Leeds. Folkert and myself visited the Royal Armouries over a year ago, and we were lucky enough to be shown around all the collection there, including the armour, the contemporary warfare, the muskets, you name it, we saw it. It was a fantastically exciting experience, but we also got to meet the curators and hear about the stories of each object. This was so exciting to hear about how an object carries with it a story from the past that you can bring into the present.
It was very much a representation of power. Each king tries to represent himself with beautiful armor and castles. It's very materialistically orientated. Also, I was very interested in the historic value of objects. And for example, the armor of Henry VIII is so present in this museum. And apparently in the history of England, he was a very important king. And also the stories around him and his life and with the women and also the breaking with Rome. So I thought, I cannot go around him, you know. He generates a lot of energy still around him, although he's not there anymore, you know.
Folkert was receptive to the collection and to the stories about the collection. So all I did was tell him the stories and the history, and he asked a lot of questions. And somehow out of all of that came this wonderful exhibition.
What Folkert decided to do in the end was to take some of the most well-known pieces of armour. We had those digitally scanned, then we printed them in polystyrene and then went on to cast them in bronze. Quite a complicated procedure, but one thing that Folkert was interested in doing was taking these ideas that objects might hold a real power, that something belonged to Henry VIII, who considered himself anointed by God, one of the most powerful people in the whole world, and that we'd been really close to that when we were near to his armour. And then that got changed slowly as we scanned it, and these objects, these pieces of armour, just existed as a virtual bit of data, really, that we could send over the internet to Amsterdam. And then they were printed in polystyrene, this really disposable and temporary material that you could effectively break in your bare hands, practically worthless, and then taken through the process again, cast in bronze and made into these incredibly valuable and precious artworks. And there's this idea that not only is a kind of monetary value implicit in this, but a kind of power in the object, that something that belonged to a king became polystyrene and then entered the Hepworth Wakefield.
In my work, it's all about the value and about the relation between spirituality and material. How an artwork can sort of engage the eye of the visitor or the public, and that a sort of idea will emerge above the work. And I think that's something that I want to evoke here with my work.